Good evening and welcome back to my channel. Tonight I am coming at you with an April TBR video. I am going to announce a challenge that I'm doing in April to hopefully get me through my unread shelf. And I'm also going to let you guys know what audiobooks I plan on listening to this month as I listen while I work. So I tend to get through quite a few audiobooks fairly regularly. First, let's do the announcement on my challenge. I have decided that this month, April, I'm going to read the 5 lowest rated books on my TBR shelf. So Sunday, I spent a long time. It was a long time going through everything on the shelves and adding them to a special folder on my Goodreads so that I could access these things very quickly without having to worry about, oh, do I have that on my shelf or not? So anyway, I went through and individually added them all, and I got my stack of these 5 books that are the lowest rated books on my bookshelf. Typically, I range anywhere on the spectrum when it comes to my ratings and how I feel about something versus how the general population feels about something. And honestly, sometimes I feel like when you go into a book naked, as I do, I tend to not read synopsises, but for the purpose of this video and this challenge, we are going to read the synopsises together, and hopefully we might find something that has potential. The first book, which was also simultaneously the lowest rated book on my TBR shelf, is The Mermaid's Purse by Katie Gardner. And this is a psychological thriller, and it says, new job, new home, new life. Cass has moved to Brighton to start over as a lecturer at the university, but she's already acquired some unwanted baggage. Someone's watching her. They've even taken photos. She's being followed too, and then there are anonymous and threatening emails she's receiving. With an unknown assailant attacking students on campus, Cass fears for her life. Is she to be the next random victim, or is there a more sinister reason she's being targeted? Hi, Bacchus. One of my dogs. This is the lowest rated book on my shelf. It was a gift. Somebody sent it to me a couple of years ago and thought that I would enjoy it. Honestly, psychological thrillers can be awesome and they can be terrible. In the past, I've read books like Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Penborough, which I absolutely adored, and I know some people absolutely hated it. So maybe this is one of those books where people either love it or they hate it. We will see. Put this back here. The next book on this TBR for this challenge is Dear Emma by Katie Tierney. I had this on my feel-good shelf. All my shelves are separated by genre in the hopes that if I'm in a specific mood for a specific book, I can find them very quickly without having to search through them all. So this is on my feel-good shelf, and it is Harriet, the author of her college newspaper, Synonymous, I think that's how you said that word, student advice column. Dear Emma is great at telling others what to do, dispensing wisdom for the lovelorn lonely on her Midwestern campus. Somehow, though, she can't take her own advice, especially after Keith, the guy she's dating, blows her off completely. When Harriet discovers that Keith has started seeing the beautiful and intimidating Remy, she wants to hate her, but she can't help warming to Remy, who soon writes to Dear Emma asking for romantic advice. Now Harriet has a perfect opportunity to take revenge on the person who broke her heart, but as she begins to doubt her own motivations and presumably faultless guidance, she's forced to question how much she really knows about love, friendship, and well-meaning advice. I'm actually surprised that this has a low rating, unless it's like terribly chauvinistic or girl bashing. Perhaps, I have no idea, because the back of this cover sounds like something that would be enjoyable to most readers. I'm hopeful that this will exceed expectations. All of the books on this lowest rating TBR have a 3.0 or lower rating on Goodreads, so who knows, it could just be terribly written. We'll just let it happen. The next book on this lowest rated TBR is Aquifer by Jonathan Fridson. So this was a book that I received in a subscription box that I was getting, oh god, it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago. They no longer exist. I have had this on my bookshelf for entirely too long, so I'm glad and also concerned. I'm glad that it's on this TBR because I'm looking forward to getting it off my shelf, and concerned that it's on this TBR because it is lower rated. But let's find out what it's about together. In the year 2250 future, maybe it's sci-fi, water is scarce. Oh my god, I can't read tonight. And those who control it control everything. 16-year-old Luca has struggled with his truth and what it means his entire life. As the son of the Deliverer, he will one day have to descend to the underground aquifer each year and negotiate with the reportedly rat-like miners who harvest the world's fresh water. But he has learned the true control rests in the Council Above Ground, a group that has people following without hesitation and which has forbidden all emotions and art in the name of keeping the peace. This council has broken his father's spirit while also forcing Luca to hide every feeling that rules his heart. But when Luca's father goes missing, everything shifts. Luca is forced underground and discovers secrets, lies, and mysteries that cause him to reevaluate who he is and the world he serves. Together with his friends and a very alluring girl, Luca seeks to free his people and the rats from the council's control. But Luca's mission is not without struggle and loss, as his desire to uncover the truth could have greater consequences than he ever imagined. Okay, so this sounds oddly familiar. One of my favorite movies is Tank Girl, and if you're familiar with it or if you know of it, it is based off of a comic book series where the lead female antagonist basically harasses people to get water in the world when there isn't any. So, and there are like kangaroo type people who help her. Maybe that's why the rating is kind of a ripoff of that story, and that's just me loosely guessing. I'm hopeful that this also doesn't have a cringy romance in it, but alluring girl, it might be cringy. It could be awesome. It could be terrible. Who knows? We will see together. Oh, and I plan on doing a little bit of a reading vlog, especially if the books end up being like really terrible or surprisingly really great. The next book is actually a nonfiction book that I got at the library sale, and that's called Why You Can Never Get to the End of a Rainbow and Other Moments of Science, edited by Dawn Glass. I am a sci-fi junkie and I like science, so I thought when I saw this, also it's got Benjamin Franklin and like bright colors, so I'm sure that probably drew the eye, and it was only a quarter, so if it's terrible, it's like little short factoids, and who doesn't like to have factoids that they can spread to the world? I'm one of those people who enjoys being able to be like, oh, did you know? So I'm assuming that that's what this will be. And I'm not going to read the synopsis because it literally is basically saying, did you ever wonder how this happened? So I'm sure this will be a very entertaining read for me. It'll also depend on if it's boring. You know, sometimes I wonder why things get low ratings, unless they're really implausible scientific things. That could be. Stay. I gotta stay. The last book on my lowest rated books TBR challenge is The Witches, Salem, 1692 by Stacy Schiff. Obviously, I got this at the bargaining table at Barnes & Noble. I'm terrible about that. I usually leave the stickers on. I think I had seen a friend post about this, and it is a nonfiction book, mayhap. I don't know. Let's read the synopsis together. The panic began early in 1692 over an exceptionally raw Massachusetts winter, when a minister's niece began to writhe and roar. It spread quickly, confounding the most educated men and prominent politicians in the colony. Neighbors accused neighbors, husbands accused wives, parents and children one another. In the end, it ended less than a year later, but not before 19 men and women had been hanged and an elderly man crushed to death. Speaking loudly and emphatically, adolescent girls stood at the center of the crisis. Along with suffrage and prohibition, the Salem witch trials represent one of the few moments when women played the central role in American history, drawing masterfully on archives. Stacey Schiff introduces us to the stains on the Puritan adolescent's life and to the authorities whose delicate agendas were at risk. She illuminates the demands of the rigorous faith, the vulnerability of settlements adrift from the mother country, perched at a politically tumultuous time on the edge of what a visitor termed a remote, rocky, barren, bushy, wild, woody wilderness. Well, that's a mouthful. With devastating clarity, the textures and tensions of colonial life emerge. Hidden patterns, subtly startling, detach themselves from the darkness. Schiff brings an early Americans' anxieties to the fore and align brilliantly with our own in an era of religious provocations, crowdsourcing, and invasion, invisible enemies. This enthralling story makes more sense than ever. There's a really beautiful map in this book. Yeah, I believe I have this on hold from the library as an audiobook, so I'm looking forward to it, and it is a nonfiction, so we will see. It has not so great ratings on Goodreads. It could be terrible, it could be awesome. We will find out together. Okay. The next is my list of audiobooks that I already have on hold from the library that I've either started already and will be finishing this month or plan to start this month, and hopefully we'll get it finished. First one on the list is what I'm currently listening to now, and that's Permanent Record by Edward Snowden. This is a nonfiction book. It is Edward Snowden's memoir, and so far it is fabulous. It is very high intensity. I wouldn't say that it is as fast-paced as Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, which I love as a nonfiction book. Highly, highly recommend. But I think you're one of those people who is intrigued by government secrets. You should check out this book. It moves very quickly, about 25% of the way through. I definitely will not finish it tomorrow, so it'll probably be the first book I finish in April. The next book that I'm getting from the library is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. East of Eden is a book that I know absolutely nothing about, other than that everybody who has read it that I am friends with says that it is profound and that they absolutely adored it. And I am here for it. I need books this month that will not disappoint, as I'm hoping these ones don't, but we're probably not going to get that lucky. I will be finishing, finally, because I got back from the library, The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery. It is a nonfiction book about octopuses, and it's a really intellectual and smart discussion on consciousness of humanity. And for a book about octopuses, it's pretty freaking phenomenal. It was last month's book club book for my brewery book club. I did not finish it, but I went to book club and they all loved it, and I trust those women with my mental life when it comes to books for the most part. So I'm looking forward to finishing that. The next book it's the third and final book in Becky Chambers' science fiction series, A Record of a Spaceborn Few. That's the next book. It's the last one. I'm kind of sad because I've really enjoyed these companion novels. Overall, I found them phenomenal. I love sci-fi. I typically lean a little bit harder sci-fi, but these are just light, fun reads with an interesting look and introspection on aliens and cool shit that I'm down with. So I'm looking forward to finishing that series and hopefully checking out more books by Becky Chambers in the future. I will be continuing reading the Wayward Children series. I am on book 3, and that is Beneath the Shiver Sky, and those are by Shauna McGuire. I loved book 1. I really liked and probably liked better than book 1, book 2. So going into book 3, I am very, very hopeful that it will be as good as the first 2 were. I am really enjoying the whimsy in these books. I think that McGuire is an excellent storyteller and uses language to her advantage. It was something that I had seen on YouTube for quite a while now, and I tend to slough off anything that leans more YA because that's not really my style. But I am really glad that I picked these up finally. And the last book on this TBR is actually book 2 in the Passage series by Justin Cronin, and that is The 12th. I read book 1. It's probably been over a year plus ago. I started this book this month, and it was right around the time when the COVID-19 started shutting stuff down here in Ohio, and it was a little too heavy for the time being. So I am very much looking forward to getting back into this because I like the story. It's a little vampire-y, it's a little post-apocalyptic-y, and it's a lot of gore, a lot of horror, a little bit of sci-fi. All of those things are things that I love. So very much looking forward to finishing this book and then hopefully getting book 3 relatively quickly from my library so that I can finish this series, because I hate being in the middle of series and not finishing them. I might end up with some more audiobooks from my library, whether I start them or finish them. I think what I've got so far should be enough for me to get through this month. Other than that, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this TBR video. It is my first TBR video, and I hope in the future, if I look back on this video, that I've read everything that I said that I was gonna read. I'm really glad you guys came back. If you like this video, please like, maybe subscribe if you want to see more of my content. Comment down below if you have opinions on these books, or if you've read them and you love them. And more importantly, if you read them and you didn't like them, I am here for the tea. Have a good night, you guys.